Welcome back to People Analytics Podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Patton. Today I have with me Yvan Demosthenes, who is CEO at HamiltonDemo. Yvan, welcome.
Thank you, Lindsay. You said that perfectly.
Oh, that is good. That is good to know. It's important that I pronounce everyone's names correctly on the show. So tell me a little about who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Yeah, so Yvan Demosthenes, based here in Cincinnati, Ohio, with my wife and three beautiful children. Got into the human capital space around 2004, 2005. And really, my background in sales helped me connect with those decision makers that I was seeking out. I started with Career Builder. And it was an interesting time, if you recall, or those in your audience that may remember, we were just coming off Y2K. Applicant tracking systems and career sites were big. And actually, I like to share a funny story that the way that I got a lot of my appointments was that the decision makers were just starting off on Outlook and they were learning email. And I was very comfortable and familiar with Outlook. So I would barter with them and say, hey, let me come in and teach you how to use and leverage and maximize your email through Outlook and give me some of your time to share with you what all Career Builder can do. And it was a match made in heaven, and the rest is history. Here I am. So fast forward 4 or 5 years ago, started HamiltonDemo, where I went off on my own after spending time at Career Builder, Monster, Professional Diversity Network, really having a passion for diversity because my background reflects diversity. My parents are immigrants, came here from Haiti, grew up in a small town, went to the University of Cincinnati, where it's remarkable, fantastic place. If anyone's ever been there, they know what I'm talking about. Go UC Bearcats. And just enjoying the ride so far. Lots of great things have happened, even in spite of the pandemic, which I don't think anyone in their right mind would ever start a business before the pandemic. But I think these are the things that make you strong. Only the strong survive. And the things as well as they have gone has been a little bit different than I wrote up in my business plan. So as things start to open up and the world starts to open back up again, I'm literally on back to back phone calls. So opportunities are great. The opportunities are vast, and I appreciate the fact that the conversations that I've had the past 2 years that we had to hold off on having, or people were uncertain of what the future held. Now those conversations can start up again, and I feel that my clients appreciate that I've stayed in touch, that I didn't just call and leave them hanging. I kept on checking back with them. I kept on making sure I was keeping them up to date on any and all things that were changing in the market. So the future looks bright, my friend. So that's me.
And I can honestly support that methodology of relationship building. Just because someone isn't ready at the time doesn't mean they'll eventually be ready. And that's what I found, with my own business, which Staff Geek has hired to help host the podcast. There's value in keeping up with those relationships. So how do you check in with people or, keep in front of them once you learn that they're not quite ready yet?
Yeah. So, Lindsay, I love what you say, because no very seldom means no. What it most often means is not right now. And right. So even if they don't say check back or circle back with me, really that's what you need to do. Because if you don't stay front and center, if you don't stay front of mind, top of mind, that will never happen. And quite frankly, some of my best professional relationships and clients and accounts have been that situation where it started off where there wasn't a lot to discuss, or any opportunities for discovery, but being pleasantly persistent and making sure you were accessible when the time was right uh, was very valuable to me. So, quite frankly, I'm pretty old school. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but I will drop a phone call. I'm that guy. Let me give you a call. Let me leave a message. I love my voicemails are very automated, and this goes way back to when the phone was the only game in town. So I know I I leave pretty much the same message, personalize it, and let them know that give me a call. Would love to chat with them. And quite frankly, it's tried and true, and it still works. So if there's something better, I would love for you or anyone listening to share it with me. But that's really what I do, and it is actually a really good gauge, because what happens is when someone sees my name pop up, they answer right away, and they tell me, "Oh my gosh, I was just thinking about you. Oh, hey, your timing's perfect." And if they don't answer right away, the next thing is that they call me back within a pretty quick duration of time. The turnaround is very quick. And if they don't answer at all and they don't, respond to my voice message, I may follow up with another one. But that's a note to me that, hey, I need to schedule another call, follow up with an email, maybe look them up on LinkedIn, and just go through those steps, and then just um, rinse and repeat.
So I want to switch gears and talk about big business versus small business, because you made the leap from large corporations, being a leader within those, to forming your own business, which when you're on your own, you're starting small. That's just the default if you're just starting. So what was that leap like?
Oh wow! So in a lot of ways, it was a leap. So when you're with a larger company, you've got these guardrails, and for better or for worse, they're there to protect you. They're there to maintain the culture and all the other great things that the companies have that they want to, keep important, and have resonate not just to you, but those that you lead, and to the clients, your customers. So that I always appreciated that, and I, for one, have always enjoyed the different cultures from different organizations. I've been I've been happy that I have the good fortune to sample cultures from all these different great companies from around the world that I read about at school, and the things I see and hear on television that I read about in the Wall Street Journal. And then, hey, I get to walk into Johnson and Johnson and be in a boardroom and, feel and touch and experience their culture. I have the opportunity to be Macy's, Kroger, have the opportunities to work with Amgen, and the list goes on and on and on. So that's been wonderful. And I always enjoy that. So the transition to having my own business was definitely different, because I'm literally a captain of one person on a ship, a big giant ship, right? I'm trying to make that ship bigger. So one thing I've realized when I've started bringing people on board, and you know partnering with other companies, is I have to project a culture to them as well, whether it's just me, or if it's me and my three employees slash contractors, whether I'm with a strategic partner, all of those scenarios, it's important to project that image, what the culture and the expectations, that they can look forward to, because I think whether you're a small company, a team of one, or a company of 100,000 plus, that's a congruency that you need to look for, right? If that culture or what's projected doesn't necessarily sync, there's going to be some disconnect along the way, even if you like each other a lot. Um, it goes from the little things to maybe, showing up to appointments 15 minutes late, to the expectation that people, you have a deadline or a time for a meet, but you get it there 24 hours early. Those little nuances, those the syncing of the cultures, I believe, are very important.
Yeah. So when you were establishing Hamilton Demo, what, did you pull from for your experience to kind of curate your own culture? What values were important as you were building that culture?
Oh, that is a great question. So what I tried to project to the marketplace, and when we first started, we had a very large client that we were working with that took up a lot of time, actually two really big ones. And so I wanted to project to them that we could react and pivot very quickly. So what did that mean? That meant that no matter what time of day they called, I would answer the phone, or I'd call back very quickly. Right? Sometimes I'd be in the line at the store. Well, I wouldn't tell them hold on or ask them if I could call back. I would quickly walk somewhere where it was quiet and give them all the attention that they needed. So that was very important. As I started bringing people on board to help me with the needs of our clients, I really tried to make sure that they felt that they could share with me what they thought was important at the time. Now, Lindsay, I'll tell you, I think I do a really good job at that. I am open to people speaking to me directly and being unfiltered. But I will admit to you that I know I seem perfect, but I do have a couple of flaws.
You
and
do?
One of them is,
oh my God.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that a surprise? Man,
How dare you?
it surprises me too sometimes. I know. But you know what? There's always room for improvement. And one thing I do realize about myself is, I've been successful, and I am a creature of habit to what's made me successful. Hence why I appreciate people telling me how it is or what they think. But I will say that part of that, although I do hear and I do listen, I tend to just keep moving forward. Right. Like, oh, that's good. But, and so I know that, and I know that, that it may seem to those that I work with that I didn't necessarily acknowledge, which I have. Sometimes these situations cause me to move quickly, but I should probably temper my enthusiasm a little bit. I think the people that I have around me have gotten used to that. I'm sure I've frustrated them in the past, but after a couple of years, I think they're starting to get it. And like I said, I've recognized that about myself, and I'm trying to get better. And I hope that they see that too. But one thing I always, if someone's going to say something, I want to hear it. I don't want to shut them out. Because truly, when there's not voices, sometimes people are telling you you're running off the road. And if you try to shut them down, you'll never know that, hey, maybe I'm going too fast and I'm getting ready to run off the road. So I try to create a culture.
And there's power in having self-awareness that even though this isn't going to get solved immediately, recognizing and saying, hey, I'm taking these steps to, improve your experience or really focus on the feedback you're giving me, that makes people feel seen. And I think there's incredible value to that.
Yes. Yeah. And like I said, I want to get better at that. And I think that's something that is a work in progress, that you never really get to where you want. You're always trying to get better, because everyone has a different personality and receives things a little bit differently. So as your company grows, right, you go from 2 to 4 to 6 to 10, you're always going to have to keep that work in progress to improve little by little. Mm-hmm. So I agree with you.
And your team's very small right now, correct?
Yes, we are a small but mighty mm-hmm. team.
Mm-hmm. So how many people make up Hamilton Demo?
So right now the core is 3 of us. We've got a couple of contractors that we use from time to time strategically, and there are some strategic partners that we also partner up with, depending on the situation and what is called for from the client. So I'd say our core is 3, and altogether, I rely on 5 to 6 people for like the foundation of what we do.
Yeah. Was there a learning curve or any challenges going from a large corporation environment to managing a more intimate team?
Pretty much what we've already talked about. Now, rather than being beholden to a process, to a culture, and remaining within the rails there, I'm responsible for everybody, right? So although it's just a few people, these are things that you need to learn how to motivate, how to get a team excited, especially in an entrepreneurial environment. So I think that's kind of like the big thing, because the individuals that I'm speaking of, for the most part, are coming from more of a structured environment, although they do have a lot of entrepreneurial experience. But it is definitely a different animal.
Yeah.
Right. So one thing I can share with you is, I think in a large company, when you go after a big deal and it doesn't come to fruition, there's not as much as a letdown from that. Mm-hmm. When you're with a small company, a startup, especially in the pandemic, like when that doesn't come to fruition, how do you stay excited and bounce back very quickly? So those are the things. So as we're gaining these opportunities, we're getting excited, and the reality is you're not going to win them all.
Yeah. Yeah. And when it's small, you feel those opportunity losses. Oh, ouch, they hurt.
Well, yeah, and what's even greater than that is there's only so much that you can allocate to whatever you're going after. So then you think about, hey, what could I have done if I hadn't allocated so much time to this? What could have happened? Or what could we have generated? What could we have produced? What could we have uncovered? But that's the nature of the beast, right? And I'm excited, like I shared, I'm excited about the future because their opportunities are.
Can you expand on that?
Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of those conversations that they said no, or not right now, back later. Now we're actually putting proposals together. We're reviewing them. We're talking about, we are having meetings at the highest levels. Actually, I've got a couple of meetings that I'm waiting to book here outside of Ohio in the next few weeks. So if and when we get back together and have another interview, I can share those wins with you. So hopefully by July, I can share names and whatnot. But, rather than putting all of our eggs in one basket, we are we've got 4 or 5 baskets that we're managing and we're going after. And truly, if it all happened at once, it may be kind of hard. So that's maybe a little bit of the benefit that we've had, because these have all been works in progress that have all come and started culminating all at the same time, which is different than diving into each basket all at once. So we've been building these proposals, building these opportunities little by little. And now it's getting close. So we're going to have some resolution one way or the other.
Nice. And one thing that I really, really find an advantage with small teams is the ability to understand how your team works best, because everyone's brain is different. Everyone works differently. And by getting to know how each other's brains work, you can set them up for success in that way. And yeah, can you talk on that?
Yeah, 100%. In a bigger company, I think it's easier for someone to hide. And when I say hide, I don't necessarily mean that in a negative way, but you can clock in and clock out and, have your cup of coffee, say bye to everybody. You can have day in, day out, and really feel unfulfilled, perhaps, but you still put in your 2-3 years in, and then you find something else and you move on, right? The smaller group, there's a much shorter window. I mean, it's you can't just hide when there's only 3 or 4 of you, right? You pretty much. I've learned that when I invite someone to come in and set the right expectations, I usually tell them, "Hey, you're you know you're gonna struggle if you haven't been in an entrepreneurial environment, if you haven't had to manage your own time, keep that in mind. I can help coach you through that. But truly, in 3 months, you'll know if you want to keep going or not. And usually when I say 3 months, they make it to 3 months, then they're going to be here a lot longer. Usually we'll know by like a month and a half, 2 months. That's usually when the signals and the signs start popping up, right? And it happens, yeah. And if it doesn't happen before that, but when it happens very quickly and is very obvious.
Yeah. And I love that you say setting the tone too, because you have to do that, on day one. And people, they work well with, having that tone set for them. So they look to leaders to follow. How do you set that tone when someone comes in?
Yeah. Again, setting the right expectations. And, when you bring them in, it would be great to say, hey, it's 4:30 on Wednesday. Can you start tomorrow at 8 o'clock? Right? That would be great. That would actually be ideal. But again, I've learned setting the tone, setting the right expectations, especially people that I value and believe that they can have an impact on my organization. I find that rather than just throwing them to the fire or having their enthusiasm take over their actions and then show up the next day, hey, take some time to think about what we talked about. Take some time to think about what the future is going to look like, what those next three months are going to look like. Take some time. Let's have 1 or 2 more conversations so you can start to realize, hey, we're great friends. It's great to hang out, but maybe working with me is a little bit different, or working for me doesn't feel the same as if we're just hanging out having lunch, right? So setting that tone to let them know um, the expectations, not from just when we talk about it, but to feel, understand, and acclimate to the culture. I think is important for a small business.
Mm-hmm. And so when it comes to finding a good culture fit for Hamilton Demo, what do you look for in a candidate?
Oh, so I this is funny, but when I started working remotely, um, I I didn't know what to do with myself because yeah, I was used to, so about 15 years ago I started working remotely, and I could always manage my time as a salesperson, but always started off going into the office, and then if I had to go somewhere else or fly out, that was part of it. But I started working remotely, and interestingly enough, I'd get everything done within a couple hours, right? And I was like, now what do I do? Like everything I set out to do, I finished, and then uh, I started missing the human interaction on a day to day basis, right? So I started structuring my workday, my remote workday, in a way that would be conducive, and it really helped me. So I was able to realize, hey, best time to reach clients sometimes are first thing in the morning. So hey, let's start reaching out to people for coffee appointments, right? A lot of people like to grab a cup of coffee before they go into the office. So hey, we can have meetings at 7:30, 8:30, whatever. Spend 15-30 minutes FaceTime, which is so valuable, and do that. So I would have one or two of those a week, and then I'd have lunch meetings as well. So a lot of people are busy. Let's have a lunch meeting because you've got to eat lunch. And a lot of the clients appreciated having some time away from the office for an hour, and it would happen really, really efficiently. So things of that nature would get me that human interaction. Um, my time management got better as well. So I learned, hey, if I can get everything done within 2 hours, what can I, what and how can I use that remaining time to get ahead of what I need to get ahead of? Whether it's additional phone calls, prospecting, um, you know, trying to create other solutions for clients, uncover additional solutions, things of that nature. So back to your question, I kind of look for those things with others that can be able to adapt pretty easily, that they won't struggle. Because quite frankly, even especially in the pandemic, we couldn't go to the office. So so I spend 50-50 between home and our space downtown. And then the pandemic turned that to 100% here. And a lot, a couple people that started with me couldn't make that transition. And and they can't wait around for me to tell them what to do. They need to figure out what to do on their own. Yeah, I can onboard you, but truly, after a while, you need to have that intuition of where to go. Feel comfortable reaching out to me. You're not bothering me. This is business, and what you have to say is valuable. So make sure you call me. But not everybody's like that. I will. I hope I'm not being cheesy. Sometimes I can see it in people's eyes, right? There's an example. I won't mention names, but if she hears and watches this interview, this podcast, she'll know it's her. But one example of this young lady, I observed her in a large room one time, looking over the room. She didn't know I was watching, and I didn't mean it. Just she kind of caught my eye um, amongst all of our friends, and I had noticed that she was like looking over and assessing the whole room. And you've got to imagine there's a lot going on in this big room, and she was like watching people come in with their glasses, who was hanging up their coats and everything, and she was into it. And I observed her for like 5 minutes. I was like, that's the person I need to join my team. She would adapt easy. So Just an example. Sometimes I can just tell, but other times it's
Yeah. So before we wrap up, I have one last question for you. You mentioned the importance of being an approachable leader. So, how do you make yourself approachable for your team?
I think it's the basics, right? I try my best to listen as much as possible. They all have my contact information where I make sure they feel that they can reach me and talk to me day and night. And actually, I have a little trick, Lindsay, where I actually reach out to them when they don't expect it, right?
Ooh,
Or
surprise attack.
yeah, well, it's more like a surprise welcome.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so let me tell you. So, for instance, the workday is 9 to 5, and I'm respectful of people's time and everything else. But if I have something great to share with them or something exciting, I'm not going to wait till the next day to tell them if I think it's of value, right? So if it's 8 o'clock, I'm like, hey, do you have time for me to share some good news? Or you know, if I know it's not quite 8 o'clock yet, they're still dropping off their kids. I say, hey, I'm getting ready to give you a call. That something we got to jump on something this morning, and can you take a call? Or if I really get to know them well, I'll just call them and leave a message, and they know when I'm calling, it's of value. At least I hope they think that. That's what they tell me, and they seem excited. But yeah, so I do those sneak welcomes on them. And so what I hope is happening is that when it's 8 o'clock on a Wednesday, that they feel comfortable reaching out to me too. Especially, I think where this really comes into play is that we all have lives outside of work. We have families and things happen. So they feel comfortable calling me to tell me, hey, my son has something tomorrow. My husband has something that's going on. Is that okay? This and that. Are we good? Need to reschedule? I think that gives me a lot of pride to be able to allow that for the people that I work with. And then I feel the same back to them too. If like anything that I need to tell them that they are open to it.
Yeah. Someone I admire said it's not a work life balance, it's a work life blend and it flows. And so I see that, if a team member needs to tend to their family, then the work is just going to flow. It's going to get done. It's just going to flow in a different direction.
It's going to flow in a different direction. And you said something. I like that work life blend. Let me share a quick little story for you where all this kind of came to the forefront. So when I started working remotely, just you'd email your boss, let them know, hey, I finished this, and you watch Monday Night Football with your laptop on your lap, and you're working. It's not a 9 to 5 as much as it was when you go to the office, right? But I noticed that my bosses would respond back right away when it was, different outside of those norms. And then someone that I worked with told me that the CEO would call him up at 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, well, he's like, we all reported to this individual, great guy. And so we're talking about him, and he told me this story how, he would be up working and it would be Saturday and, you know, getting things done. And he would respond to his emails and the CEO would call him right back. And he said that he'd asked the CEO, what gives you the license to call me up at 1 a.m. in the morning? And he said, well, I just thought since you responded to the email that you were awake, so I gave you a call. Right. So kind of goes both ways. If you are receptive to communication going away from you, be be unnoticed that it's probably going to be of equal coming back to you, right? So if you respond to emails at 1 o'clock in the morning, expect emails at 1 o'clock in the morning.
You got to set your own boundaries.
Exactly. If you're calling somebody at 7 o'clock in the morning, then expect phone calls at 7 o'clock in the morning. Hence why I probably woke up to the phone ringing this morning. Just which is a good problem to have. But yeah, I love that work-life blend that you.
Yeah. Well, Yvan, this has been a great conversation. I've had a blast. So if people want to get in touch with you, learn more about Hamilton Demo, how can they do that?
Yeah. So I love that I share my cell phone with people. And when I first started doing it for about 4 years ago, people thought I was crazy, but I'm actually seeing more and more people share their cell numbers on podcasts and on different TV shows. So you can reach me at 513-257-9683. Again, 513-257-9683. That is my personal cell phone. Happy to chat, discuss anything human capital, recruiting, anything talent acquisition. And actually, if you've got something that you feel is of value to talk about outside of that, I'm welcome to that as well. And my website is HamiltonDemo.com, www.HamiltonDemo.com. And it's got all my information.
Y'all heard it. Give Yvan a call. Again, I'm Lindsay Patton, host of the People Analytics podcast. If you or anyone you know is like Yvan and passionate about the people space, feel free to reach out to me, Lindsay@staffgeek.com. Thank you for listening to Staff Geek's People Analytics podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Patton, and I'm always looking to interview leaders who put people first. If you or someone you know lead with a people-first mindset, please email me at lindsay@staffgeek.com. That's LINDSAY@staffgeek.com. If you want to take things a step deeper and understand your organization's true culture DNA, I encourage you to take Staff Geek's free culture assessment. Just head to staffgeek.com and click the button that says Free Culture Assessment. Thanks again for listening.